can you get? Anyway, live on tape from a secret, undisclosed location deep in the bowels of downtown St. John's, Newfoundland, comes In the Library of Graphic Literature with your host, me, Wallace, spinning the rack rind. Anyway, we didn't get our comics in this week on time, but that don't matter. Why don't that matter? That don't matter because I only had one book coming in anyway, and I decided, well, you know what? I'm gonna do another special episode, and so I looked around and I thought, what am I going to do an episode on? Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, Library of American Comics, artist editions, graphic novels? No! I decided, let's do something. Let's start with the best, or some of the best anyway, and these days some of the best, or most beautiful books anyway out there, are the Absolute editions from DC Comics. So I decided, hey, let's do a DC Comics Absolute Edition episode. Okay, so I love Absolute editions. I've been buying them for years. I tend to buy just, really my top favorite stuff in them. My Gaiman, my Alan Moore's, and, various stuff like that. The Absolute editions began in 2002, and actually the first Absolute edition, according to my research so far, was Absolute Authority. Now this is a second printing, I do believe. But the beautiful thing with these, they're about 8 by 13 is what the size of the books are. It's like reading slightly bigger comics anyway, and they all come with these beautiful slip cases and all that, and absolutely, and little ribbons, stuff like that involved. But I mean, the pages are, like I say, it's oversized comics. This is one of your classic comics, so anything that's of any big quality I will actually buy, or that's somehow very important comic wise, I will pick up. So anyway, Absolute Authority, this is really the one that started it all. Although, not quite. In some ways, hang on a second, I always try to get that ribbon back inside of it there so it doesn't get caught up as I slide it back into there. And I love the slip cases too, they're really nicely done. The whole thing, I mean, it's like a quality product. So I love them. I love them. Now there's some people who, and you're wondering, gee, Wallace, why do you have that Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and Deadman from Neil Adams out there? Well, these, in some ways, these came out around 2000, I think it was, and these books themselves, these are almost like miniature Absolute editions, or I like to call them proto-Absolute editions. So these were the first really high-end type of slipcase books that they did, and beautiful production values, great art, of course, nice books. Like I say, very, very nicely done. So these were put out, like I say, a couple of years before they got into doing them very seriously, and they started to do them in a slightly bigger size, and everyone seemed to really, really love them, so they went from there. Now, in terms of the Absolute editions, the one that it appears that they've done the most of, in terms of a character, of course, is good old Batman. Batman so far has, I think, 11 Absolute editions. So I mean, there's everything from the Dark Knight, Absolute Dark Knight, there's Hush, there's Killing Joke, there's a couple of the Jeff Loeb and Tim Sal books. There's a lot. Anyway, and of course, out of all them, well, one of course, I picked this one to show off to you folks. I love the covers. Once again, like I say, really, really cool graphics, very nicely done. And once again, let's have a look at the... Now this, of course, has both the Dark Knight Returns and Dark Knight Strikes Again. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to have them all in one big volume like this. But I just love the oversized aspect of them. There's just something really cool, I think, about comics that are this big. They're just absolutely stunning. I love them to death. And even, oh, let's have a look. And even the inside. Let's take off the covers themselves. Ta-da-da-da. Really cool. So DC really does have a lot of high-end, beautifully produced books, and the Absolutes are definitely the champagne of DC collections. Absolutely stunning, beautifully produced. So there's a lot of Batman ones there, and now over the years too, they've won a few awards too. As a matter of fact, they have won 6 Eisner Awards and 1 Harvey Award. And the book, out of all the Absolute editions, the one that has won the most Eisner, well, not the most Eisner, but the most awards, believe it or not, was Darren Cook's New Frontier. This has won, basically, this has won the Best Graphic Album for 2007, Best Archival Collaborative Project, and it won a Harvey for Best Graphic Album. So that's not bad for an Absolute edition. And it's the other one was Absolute Justice, had won 2 Eisners. So it won just as many Eisners, but it didn't win a Harvey. So now, of course, I bought this one. I bought this when I was living in New York, and this was my first experience reading the New Frontier was in this format, and it is just absolutely stunning. Once again, I love here's the box case. I love the box, the slip cases. Absolutely stunning. Now this one, of course, came without a dust jacket. I guess in some ways they don't really need them. Some of them do, some of them don't have them. But this, of course, what a way to experience Darren Cook's masterpiece. Surely one of the great DC series of our time. Absolutely stunning. Love this. Absolutely love it. And so this, I spent many an hour reading and rereading this particular book. For any of you actually out there who haven't read New Frontier, run out and grab yourself a copy. Absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Astonishingly stunning. Let's put it that way. So yeah, definitely worth buying. Let's see, what else here now too. Another thing too, let's see, out of all the Absolute editions, the creator who has the most is Alan Moore, as far as I've counted. He has, or will have, when they come out with the Swamp Thing one later on this year, which they actually resolicited, that'll make 11, so he has 10 now. Gaiman himself has 7, and then there are a few other creators, Jeff Loeb and them, they got a couple. Miller has 5, so I mean, you know, quite a few. And among these, another one of the Eisner Award winners was the Sandman, the Absolute Sandman. Now, the Absolute Sandman is absolutely gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. And why is it so gorgeous? Because it just is. The slipcase, I mean, I love the slipcase with the Dave McKean artwork on it. Really, really cool. But the other thing too about these is the book itself with the Absolute Sandman. When I bought the first one of these, I fell head over heels in love with it. I mean, the leather binding. I love the spines. They look like some sort of magic book that a wizard would have somewhere in their sanctorium. And the other thing I like about this too is the embossed. I love the embossed vertigo there. The key here. The little picture there. Absolutely stunning. And another embossed thing here. But the other cool thing that I like about this and all the other Absolute Sandman that are out there is when you'd open it, there's the opening page, and then there's this tracing paper overlay page, and then you get into the actual comics. So, and this is the only one that I can remember that has it. So when I first read it, it was just like, oh my God, I love this. So here we go. Beautiful design, great artwork throughout it. Then of course the comics themselves. Like I say, there's just something to reading your comics when they're big like this. Absolutely stunning. So this is all the early, a lot of the early Sandman stories. Very, very cool. So, and I mean, I'm a big fan of Sandman, and this of all the editions I've seen, this is without doubt my favorite version of it. As a matter of fact, when I was poking around doing some research about these, I found a quote actually from Neil Gaiman. Oh, I dropped the little the little slip paper that comes with it. And people asking him, you know, about what's a good printing, or should they get a soft cover? What's the best way to read it and all that? And he even said himself that the Absolute editions were probably, I think the best. He said the best are probably the Absolute editions. So you take it from Neil Gaiman himself. This really is the way to read your Sandman. Now it came out in 4 volumes. Was it 4 volumes? Then there was 2 additional volumes, and then there's the Death, which we sort of we count as a Sandman, Absolute Sandman, because it's the design, everything is done exactly like it. Now once again, as I said earlier, hang on a sec. Absolutely love it, love it, love it, love it. The man with the most is Alan Moore with 10, soon to be 11, and so I picked out my 2 favorite of his. Actually, I guess one of my favorites too is the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen artist editions. I mean, not artist editions, Absolute editions. There's 2 books in it. One book is the comic itself, and the second book is the scripts and all that. So it's kind of neat, especially if, like, for instance, you're like me and you teach a course in comics and all that. It's a great one to bring in to show your students and all that. Now, out of all those, I mean, they're all beautiful and all that, but I decided, okay, what's going to be my favorite? And I think without doubt, one of my favorites is the Absolute Promethea. This is book 1 here. There were 3 books in all. It has this beautiful gold, shiny gold slipcase. Beautifully done. You know you love it. And then the books themselves. Of course, the art by J.H. Williams, of course, just sweetens the deal. I mean, I'm a huge fan. Well, I'm a huge fan of Alan Moore anyway, but when I seen he was doing this comic at the time, and I read it at the time when it came out, Promethea, and I started reading, it was just like, and at the time I hadn't seen any of Williams' other work, and when I seen this, it was just like, oh my god, this guy is bloody amazing. He's one of the few people out there who can do amazing artwork and really complex panel work and all that, and like Neil Adams, for instance, still keep it very readable, so you can read it without getting lost. But this one I love because it has a lot of these really neat varnishes, as they call it. Like you'll see some of these panels are sort of shiny compared to the rest of the book, which is kind of flat on the front here too, like there. You can sort of see how, right there, how that's sort of a flattish thing there. But yeah, very, very cool. And the artwork itself is just absolutely amazing. Oh, there goes one of those little slips again that come with it. And Promethea, absolutely stunning book. Maybe not for everyone, but for me and for a lot of people. I mean, it won a few Eisner Awards, I do believe, and everyone at the time absolutely loved Promethea. It was one of the better comics out during its day. Like I say, the art, it just gets better every single episode, and the stories are just off the scale. Like I say, great layout, and like I say, you're still able to read it without losing your mind. So yeah, I mean, this book I actually do recommend to people to read anyway. Oh, excuse me, let me pick up that little slip again. But like I say, just as a book itself, who cares about it being an absolute edition? If you can actually pick it up in soft cover, or even, I do believe there's a hardcover edition, go out there and pick it up. Promethea, absolutely perfect. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Now, let's see. Oh, and the other book, which also won a Eisner for 2007 for Best Archival Collection Project comic books, is of course the Absolute Watchmen. Now this basically is like a giant-sized version of the graffiti edition that was put out a few years before. Excuse me, let me sip my tea there. Anyway, this, I mean, it's like yeah, it's like just a basically slightly bigger version of the graffiti edition. I mean, the slipcase looks the same. The only thing that's different is the word Absolute on it. Otherwise, it's almost a direct copy of the graffiti edition, which is fabulous because that was a beautiful edition. Now check this out here. I love this with the spot varnish on the blood there, so it really stands out like that. This, absolutely wonderful. I love it. Well, I mean, I love the Watchmen anyway, but this is a beautiful way to read it. Now let's slide the slip off it there, and there's the front and the back, and let's get a close up here. There we go. Now, how does that look to you? Isn't it fabulous there? It's funny, when I talk to my class and all that, I explain how the Watchmen is basically a 9-panel grid comic. As you can see, it's true, because they are all versions or variations on the 9-panel grid system. See? Stunning, eh? What better way to read the Watchmen than to read it in this version? Even the big written end pieces, beautiful, beautiful. And the coloring, I mean, the coloring at the time, I can remember discussing with my buddy Paul Tucker, who's an amazing colorist, and he was talking about how this when he first read the Watchmen and just seeing the coloring and the way it was done, it absolutely changed his mind about the whole idea of coloring and what was cool coloring. Now, hang on a sec. Let's close this up here. And slip it back in that beautiful slipcase. Oh, this one has its little slip inside there. So yeah, absolutely beautifully done. I think that, oh, actually there was one more. I meant to take this off the case there before. Actually, there was two. There were two more I was going to show everyone here. Okay, here we go. And one is a Batman one. This one I just wanted to pick out just because this is so different. It's one of the 2-volume ones. But what's cool about this is one is basically the recolored softcover version that was done when they released it in a softcover. And then the other one was actually, basically this is just like a reproduction of the original comic. And this one I kind of like because it's, I mean, it's done on newsprint. It just feels, it reminds me of when I first bought this. I can still to this day remember buying this comic in the store. Funny enough, the store that I bought it at is just up the street here from the library itself. Absolutely cool. But loved year one. But now this is the other one. This one I wanted to show mainly because I already had Preacher, the 6 hardcover volumes of Preacher, and when the Absolute Edition came out, I was just like, oh, I think I'll skip. I already got it, whatever. But then once I seen it, my local comic book store, Downtown Comics, got it in, and once I seen it, I fell absolutely in love with it. And believe it or not, it was the spine that did it. I mean, the story's great itself, but like the Absolute Sandman, look, what's this? Oh, 2 of those. Like the Absolute Sandman, this has great sort of embossing on the cover. Check out the cover there. And it has, and the spine though, look at that spine. And a little vertigo that's embossed there in the middle. So anyway, all in all, I just had to have it. So I went out and I bought it. Now DC, if anyone from DC is listening, you got to keep up with the Absolute editions. They're just too beautiful not to. That's why I was so glad when I seen that they were resoliciting the Absolute Swamp Thing and all that. So thank you very much. Anyway, and that's really it for my Absolute editions. I only have about 3 of these bookcases, or 3 shelves worth of. They're down below the back of the couch here. It's about three of those filled with Absolute editions. But like I say, once again, they tend to be ones that they have to be a very special comic for me to get it in an Absolute edition. One of the other ones I got in the Absolute format was Frank Miller's Ronin, because I loved Ronin when I was growing up. It was very influential for me. When I seen it, I was living in New York at the time. It was just like, I gotta have this. I gotta have this. So I had it, and I'm so glad I did. Anyway, that's it for this week. It has been an absolute joy showing you these books. And next week, there's actually a few books coming in next week, I do believe. And I'll get back to reviewing a few new ones. But I do enjoy these sort of off episodes where I can wax eloquent about some of the books that I love and that I love to share with all you folks out there. So, that being said, time to summon me a boom tube. My God, look at the size of that one. And I'll see you next week. Love you all. Keep on reading. Okay. Whoa!